Hi. This week we have 11.1.2 for week 3 of the PTS cycle. We did go through their previous post already. They alluded to some changes that would be coming, so we'll see what happens here. It says they have reverted some of the week 1 PTS changes to class ultimate generation passives, sorcerer adjustments, and the Arcanist class mastery script with Banner Bearer. Full details on these changes are included below, along with some other minor combat adjustments. Once again, thank you for your feedback on the week 1 changes. In addition to combat changes, there are also general adjustments to content in Feast of Shadows, Solstice, and base game content. More adjustments to Black Gem Foundry, Naj Kaldish, the Writhing Wall event, etc. have been made. For those that are in a festive mood, the Witches Festival is available for testing this week as well. Check out some of the new loot. The Wicker Chain Soul outfit style. Okay, cool. As well as the Hagraven Matron face and body markings. All right. PCEU is now copied onto the PTS. Let's get into it. All right, so this is the Witches Festival. That's available to test this week. Doing, girl? You getting comfy? Known issues. In the Crown Store, there's an issue that prevents you from claiming scribing unless you're on a character that has champion points. We're updating this to include players who are either level 30 plus or has champion points on the account will be able to claim scribing for free. Okay. Known issue. All right, here we are. The meat and potatoes. Combat and abilities. Based on player feedback earlier in the PTS cycle, we are reverting the week 1 adjustments to class ultimate generation passives. They now all generate a unique form of ultimate again. However, these effects put all similar passives on cooldown, so they cannot be stacked. Effects the following: Prism, Transfer, Mountain's Blessing, Savage Beast, Implacable Outcome, and Corpse Consumption. So these are all the ones we went over last week that they, or I guess 2 weeks ago, that they had nerfed. This cooldown works by taking the first effect to activate and using the cooldown of that effect to prevent any of the other effects, including itself, from activating for the listed duration. If you have Corpse Consumption and Prism and trigger Corpse Consumption first, you will not be able to trigger either for 16 seconds. If you trigger Prism after that cooldown window, the next cooldown would be 6 seconds. So this actually creates a little bit of like, well, I guess it doesn't really matter too much. I was going to say it creates like an interesting like route to build your rotation around so that you have the shorter cooldown first, but I don't know if it really matters that much. Because you're getting more ultimate for Corpse Consumption with the bigger cooldown, or less ultimate with Prism with a shorter cooldown. So I don't know if, I don't know if it really matters. I'll have to think about that a little more, but this seems like an okay way to handle this. It's so much better than what they did before. That's for sure. So you can still use minor heroism, major heroism. Sounds like the catalyst, potion, drinking ultimate. That'll still work on its own. So they really went back on this. Like, they went back hard on it. So props to Zos for walking this one back. We don't see that a lot with big decisions. Like week 1 of the PTS, I would have said there's no way they're gonna walk this back, but they did. So credit where credit is due. The feedback definitely helped with this. Fixed an issue where sprint could fail to deactivate if you had a combination of settings that changed. Oh, bye Abby. We're going to have to get rid of the cat cam. Instead of the lap cam. All right. Cat cam's off. We had a combination of settings that change behaviors of sprint, toggle, and walk toggle. Okay. Oh, yeah. They've added sprint toggle in as an option now. Same. I think that's how it works on controller. On console, you have a sprint toggle. So they've added in that option for PC, mouse, and keyboard as well, instead of holding sprint. I like to hold for sprint, personally. That's just what I'm used to, though. I could see how sprint toggle is the preferred method though. Like it's better. So maybe I'll try to get used to that. All right, Nightblade siphoning reduced the ultimate generated by this passive to 22, down from 30. I think that's fine. It's still higher than it was pre-subclassing. It was 20 before subclassing, and now it's 22. A little bit of a nerf there, but not. It's still a very good passive, for sure. But I think this is okay. Why buff it in the first place? That's a good question. I think that's a really good question to ask, and I think those are the kind of questions we need to be asking the developers. Like, why the whiplash? Why are we going one way and then back the other? Like, what's going on here? All right. Sorcerer, Daedric Summoning, Bound Armor. This ability and its morphs have been partially reverted to grant minor protection rather than major resolve. This back to minor protection. Bound Armor and Aegis' duration are now based on your combined physical and spell resistance. 1 second for every 10,000 rating. Minimum of 3 seconds, maximum of 15 seconds. If for some reason you decide to stack that insane amount of resistances. Okay, Bound Aegis. This morph now increases your block mitigation by 50% at rank 4, up from 40%. This morph no longer passively increases it in duration directly, as it now indirectly does from minor resolve granted. 50% block mitigation and 1 second for every 10,000 armor. So like on a tank, you'd have 33k times 2. So 6.6 seconds. Oh, so you're barely... That would be like what? Barely above what it's at now? What is it at now? 5 seconds? Yeah, I don't feel like that's a... That doesn't seem like a good trade-off for losing 8% magicka. That doesn't seem like a great trade-off to get like a tiny bit more duration. Right now it's 6 seconds. I thought it was 5 seconds. And I guess if you're over the resistance cap, the more over you are, the more duration you get on it. And you do get more block mitigation now. It's 50% instead of 40. I think, I mean, it's still a nerf, in my opinion, for most setups to lose that mag. Like, it's a lot of block mitigation, though. An extra 50% is huge. No, there's a cap. Yeah, you can only block a certain amount. All right. Well, it's interesting, at least. I don't think it's terrible. I still would personally rather have the mag on that morph and the stam on Bound Armaments. Doesn't look like they got in the Bound Armaments extra sundered yet. They were saying they were going to add extra sundered chance to Bound Armaments. Doesn't look like that's here. But yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out for that one. Next, we have Dark Magic. Blood Magic. This passive now only heals you if you're not at full health. That's fine. I mean, if you're at full health, then it doesn't really matter anyway. If you are at full health, it now increases the higher of your magicka or stamina by 10% for 10 seconds. You have to trigger it. So, I mean, it should be very easy to keep up. 100%. let's see what they have to say about it. We're taking the passive slot effect from Bound Armor and its morphs and placing it here to ensure base Sorcerer classes can retain the effects and get a small boost in some cases, but also moving it to a less utilized skill line. We know this isn't a silver bullet to making dark magic a desired skill line, but we're using this as an experiment to see if this sort of shuffling of power is seen as a good thing or not in the brave new subclassing world. Definitely give us your feedback on this. Wow, this is a really, really good developer comment. This is a really good developer comment. Like, they're acknowledging, hey, we know this isn't, doing this alone is not just going to magically make this a desired skill line. We're going to see if people like this sort of shuffling of power around, if this is a good thing. Give us your feedback on it. Like, I like seeing this kind of stuff in the developer comments. Instead of, like, a lot of times it feels like it's just like, hey, we're just telling you how it is, and that's how it's gonna be. That's kind of how the developer comments usually feel. This is more reserved and saying like, hey, this is just something we want to try out. Maybe it's gonna work, maybe it doesn't. Let us know what you think about it. Like, that feels good to me, anyways. But yeah, I mean, I do agree with them though. This does make dark magic a little bit better, but 10% of your max resource is far from making this a good line to pick. So I hope we can see more for this line as the PTS goes on, because this was my big complaint when they posted all this originally last week, that they were planning to do these things. Is like, okay, it's nice, but this is not even close to enough. Like, we need way more than this. Storm Calling, Lightning Form. This ability and its morphs have been reverted to grant major resolve rather than minor force. I'll talk about this in a separate video as well. We're gonna do a big feedback video. I think the minor force was actually a pretty cool idea. If what they could have done is had one morph give you minor force, one morph give you major resolve, but then buff the hell out of Boundless Storm so it's actually on par with power to Hurricane. And then you can run either morph for damage. They're both going to be good. But then choose if you want the major resolve or minor force depending on your build setup. Like, to me, that would be like the best of both worlds. Right now, Boundless Storm just kind of sucks for damage, though. So if they did that in the current balance between those two abilities, it would feel bad if you had to like pick one of the like worst performing damage abilities to get the buff that you want. But I think if they were like relatively equal in power, that could really work. But for now, I think this is the better move for sure. And until we get to a place like that, having major resolve instead of the minor force is the better play. Okay, so that's it for Sorcerer. Let's see. Scribing, Grimoires, Banner Bearer. This class mastery script, when paired with this Grimoire as an Arcanist, now generates 3 ultimate if the effect did not generate a Crux. This is an effort to offer a universal role agnostic reward in cases where you already have a Crux. Our original goal of limiting passive Crux generation remains, as we've seen the significant power gains and simplification of an already simple gameplay experience from having too much of it. I don't know. It's okay. Sometimes you'll get 3 ultimate. Sometimes you'll get nothing. Because like you were gonna get the Crux regardless from from your Tome Bear. So sometimes you'll get the crux from this instead, which makes it effectively gives you nothing, because the Tome Bearer would have given you that, or your Inspired Scholarship, or whatever you take there for that morph. I don't know. I feel like this is just not going to be that great. It's just not going to be good. It's not going to be desirable. So we're going to have Templar, DK, and Necro all as better options for using Banner on a beam build than the Arcanist itself, who is the class that does the beams. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like this change. I think it's better, of course. At least you get something from the banner now instead of nothing, which is where it was before. It still just feels like it's not enough, and it's a weird interaction to have it like sometimes. Let's just say it every 5 seconds it gave you 3 ultimate. So it was guaranteed. Like the effect from this was guaranteed. Every 5 seconds you got 3 ultimate. How would y'all feel about that? Would it still be underpowered? I still feel like I'd rather have the other classes' masteries. Banner's better with Cavalier Charge. At least be reliable, which is a start. Rather have damage. Basically have 2 times minor heroism. Better than the Nightblade mastery. That's true. It doesn't take much there, but that is true. Rather you not use Banner. Yeah. Even if this was guaranteed, I don't think I'd run this. I think I'd play a different base class and run a different class mastery. Even if it was guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. A lot of times this is not going to generate ultimate. So you're going to have periods where you just don't get any ultimate. So maybe you get 3 ultimate in 10 seconds. Maybe you get 3 in a 15-second period. Maybe you get it in a 5-second period. Feels very, very undertuned and unreliable. Not a fan of what they did here. Like to see them go back to the drawing board. All right, let's move on. Monster Masks. Black Gem Monstrosity. Fix an issue where the set would deal 0 damage against targets with very high health pools, integer caps, and overflow strikes again. Okay, so this should work on the trial dummy now. People can actually test that out. We're having to do some weird, like, 3 million dummy tests to see how much damage this was doing. All right, well, this seems like a very good monster set if you want to use Wield Soul as your spammable. But if you're going with the thematic build that uses, like, Chilling Soul or Bloody Soul, Fiery Soul, whatever it might be for your thematic build, this is a very, very good monster set to pair with that. Outside of that, it's not really worth swapping to Wield Soul for this monster set from like whatever other spammable you might use. But if you're already using that spammable for your build, it's strong. And it might be probably good in PvP where people use the Healing Soul very commonly. I see that in most PvP builds. So that would also... But player health pools are also way lower. So it's not going to hit as hard as it would in PvE, where most stuff is over that 100k, where it caps out at. We'll see. I'm not going to really comment on the PvP side of things. It might be okay there. But for PvE, definitely it's stronger. Let's just put it this way. The monster set is stronger than Selene by like 25% at 8k weapon and spell damage. The downside is you have to use Wield Soul as your spammable to consistently proc it, whereas Celine can just proc from any martial melee damage. So if you're using Wield Soul, great option. Otherwise, for PvE, not really worth it. All right, so we got some fixes to Black Gem Foundry and Naj Kaldish. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to understand what these are. I don't know all the boss names and effect names and stuff, so I won't really be able to comment on that. But yeah, it's good to see they're updating stuff as it goes on. They buffed Black Gem. Okay. Gotcha. Exploration itemization adjusted the following achievements to match their intended point values. Siege Camp Liberator 5 achievement points, Underminers 10. Ah, they fixed the curation before it hit live on the monster masks. This is normally a bug that goes live, but they found it before this time. Ossian Cage, Caustic Carrion damage has been normalized throughout the zone. Applying regen or its morphs will no longer cause a health desync when affected by Caustic Carrion. Adjusted the voiceovers to be present as designed during the encounter. This is for Ossian Cage. Crafting and economy. They added a couple of styles to the legendary master writs. Okay, that's about it. So, as I kind of expected, we didn't really get anything other than what they already said we were getting. It's man, it feels like we're working really slow through this stuff. I don't know. I can't speak to the process for the combat team and how, like, what all approvals they have to get and this and that. I don't know how that works. But man, does it feel like we move at a snail's pace through this stuff. Like, this is it for week 3. That's it. All right, well, like I said, I'll have another video covering a lot of feedback over subclassing in general, going through each class. But yeah, not a whole lot here that we didn't already know. Stay tuned for the next one, I guess. See y'all later. Bye.